Welcome, dear listener, to the world asleep. Tonight, we rise together high above the clouds to a land the ancients called the roof of the world. Beneath us, the Himalayas stretch like frozen waves, their peaks gleaming beneath a boundless sky. The wind moves softly across the plateau, carrying the low hum of prayer wheels and the distant echo of temple bells. In the thin air, the earth and heavens feel impossibly close, as though one could reach out and brush the stars. This is Tibet, a place of endless sky and whispering spirits, a land where mountains are gods, rivers are guardians, and the wind itself seems to remember. And though we are far from its snowy valleys tonight, perhaps you can feel it, that quiet stillness, that breath of something ancient moving through the dark. Before we begin, I wonder, where in the world are you listening from? Beneath what sky are you resting? If you feel called to share, we would love to read your voice in the comments below, a soft chorus beneath this story. Now, take a slow breath and let us travel to the mountains where the sky begins. Chapter 1: The land between earth and heaven. The journey begins with wind. It rises gently across the high plateau, threading through the tall grass and over the scattered stones. It brushes across the faces of cliffs, past the white walls of remote monasteries, and into the thin, crystalline air that defines this land. This is Tibet, not merely a country, but a living altitude suspended between the clouds and the heart of the earth. Here, every breath feels deliberate, every movement slow and measured, as though time itself has learned to walk more carefully in the mountains. The air is thin but clear, carrying with it the faint scent of juniper smoke and yak butter, the timeless fragrance of life at the world's edge. Prayer flags ripple in long, colourful lines, each flutter sending words of peace into the wind. In the distance, the Himalayas rise like frozen waves, their ridges glowing with light, their shadows deep enough to hold entire worlds. The landscape is vast, but never empty. Even in silence, it hums with quiet presence. The people of Tibet have always known this. To them, the earth and sky are not separate realms, they are part of the same spirit, the same endless circle of breath. On the wind-swept plains, yaks move like slow shadows, their bells chiming softly as they graze. Nomads live in black yak hair tents, smoke curling from their stoves, their lives tied to the rhythm of the land. The morning sun rises golden and pale, turning frost to mist, and the mountains answer in stillness. Far in the distance, a monastery clings to a cliffside, its walls whitewashed, its roofs painted red and gold. The monks within rise before dawn, their chants rolling like distant thunder through the cold air. The sound echoes for miles, a vibration that seems to blend with the mountain's heartbeat. To live here is to listen, to walk, to breathe, to exist in quiet conversation with the land. The Tibetan Plateau is one of the most remote and elevated regions on Earth. For centuries, it has stood apart from the rush of the modern world, a place where tradition endures like the snow on its peaks. The altitude alone shapes life. Crops grow slowly, journeys are measured in days instead of hours, and every sound, the crack of a prayer drum, the call of a bird, feels magnified against the silence. Yet this silence is not emptiness, it is presence. The Tibetans believe that every mountain, every river, every stone is alive, inhabited by spirits that watch, guide, and protect. The land itself is sacred, filled with unseen companions who move through the mists and whisper in the wind. Even the geography feels deliberate, sculpted by unseen hands. The Yarlung Tsangpo River, winding through deep valleys, is said to be a reflection of a celestial river, a bridge between worlds. The towering peaks Kailash, Everest, Amye Machen are not merely mountains, but manifestations of divine beings. They are gods made stone. The belief that the divine resides in nature is woven deeply into Tibetan life. It is not a distant concept, but an intimate one. Each act, lighting a butter lamp, spinning a prayer wheel, walking a circuit around a sacred lake, is a conversation with the spirit of the world. When the wind blows through the prayer flags, it is said to carry blessings across the earth. The colours themselves hold meaning. Blue for sky, white for air, red for fire, green for water, yellow for earth. Together, they represent the balance that sustains all life. And so, the people trust the wind to do what they cannot, to carry their hopes beyond the mountains, to places unseen. If you were to walk through one of Tibet's Bayul, the hidden valleys said to be sanctuaries for the pure of heart, you might feel that the world itself has changed its pace. The air becomes softer, the light warmer, and the silence more complete. The legends say these secret valleys were created by enlightened beings as refuges, safe havens for those who wander during times of chaos, where one can find both physical and spiritual peace. To enter one is to cross a threshold not into fantasy, but into stillness. And that stillness, that sense of something eternal lying just beyond sight, defines the Tibetan experience. The herder leading his yaks through the frost knows it. The monk walking barefoot across the monastery courtyard knows it. Even the child, chasing the wind through the prayer flags, feels it, that presence in the air, that quiet companionship of the unseen. There are few places left in the world where myth and life walk so closely together. Here, you can stand on a mountain path and feel as though you are being watched, not by eyes of suspicion, but by something older and benevolent. The Tibetans call these watchers the La, the spirits of place protectors of valleys and peaks, who dwell in the elements themselves. They are not gods in the way the West understands gods, but more like caretakers, conscious expressions of nature. To offend them by cutting sacred trees or polluting rivers is to disturb the harmony of the world. To honor them is to live in balance. And so, throughout Tibet, you'll find cairns of stone called ovos, decorated with yak skulls and colorful flags. Travelers leave offerings: a handful of barley, a strand of hair, a small carved figure to thank the spirits for safe passage. Every gesture here, even the smallest, is a prayer. Every breath, an acknowledgement of the unseen. When night falls on the plateau, the wind quiets. The stars appear, endless and close, hanging like lanterns above the snow. The air is so clear that the Milky Way seems to spill directly into the valleys. In the distance, dogs bark, prayer flags rustle, and the world feels both vast and intimate, as if the mountains themselves are whispering old stories to the stars. To dream here is to dream in slow motion, to feel the heartbeat of the earth beneath your sleeping body. Perhaps that is why Tibet feels less like a place and more like a state of being, a threshold between the visible and the invisible, between breath and eternity. It is a world that asks for nothing, yet offers a kind of peace that cannot be found anywhere else. And in the morning, when the first light touches the peaks, the mountains gleam with a quiet fire, as though reminding all who see them that heaven is not above, but all around. Now, let us step deeper into that invisible world, into the realm of spirits and sky, where the mountain gods awaken and the stories of Tibet begin to breathe. Chapter 2: Spirits of the Mountains and Sky. To understand Tibet, one must first understand its silence. It is not an empty silence, it is a living one, the kind that hums beneath everything. Like a quiet breath, the world takes in, and never quite lets out. In that silence, the Tibetans hear voices, not the voices of people, but of the mountains, the rivers, the wind. Here, every element has consciousness. Every motion of the sky is a message. Every stone is a story. High above the plateau, Mount Kailash rises a perfect pyramid of ice and shadow. It is said to be the axis of the world, the center around which all life turns. In Buddhist, Hindu, Bon and Jain traditions alike, it is the holiest of mountains. The Tibetans call it Gang Rinpoche, the precious jewel of snow. But even the word mountain feels too small for it. To the people who live in its shadow, Kailash is not rock and ice, it is a being, a god sleeping in plain sight. Its slopes are said to be the body of the deity Demchok, the lord of blissful union. Its glaciers are his robes, its summit, his crown. Pilgrims travel for weeks, months, or even years to reach it. When they arrive, they do not climb. No one ever has to set foot on the summit would be to desecrate the divine. Instead, they walk around it, performing the Kora, a sacred circumambulation that circles the base of the mountain. Some walk the 53 kilometers in a single day, spinning their prayer wheels as they go. Others take 3 days. A few complete the journey prostrating themselves at every step, lying flat on the ground, rising, taking a step forward, and lying flat again. It can take weeks. They do not do it for spectacle or even to ask for favor. They do it as devotion, a living prayer of movement and breath. It is said that one full circuit around Kailash can erase the sins of a lifetime. 108 circuits can break the cycle of rebirth entirely. But even a single step, taken with sincerity, is enough to touch the divine. The Tibetans believe the mountains are alive with Yul-La, the guardian deities of the land. Each peak has its own spirit, its own personality. Some are benevolent, offering protection and rain. Others are fierce, defending their territory with storms and snow. Before crossing a mountain pass, travelers stop to make offerings. They burn juniper branches, scattering their fragrant smoke into the air. They leave small stones or strips of fabric, whispering words of gratitude to the spirit of the peak. To pass without acknowledgement would be to invite misfortune not as punishment, but as imbalance. In Tibet, balance is everything. The seen and unseen must coexist in harmony. The sky deities, too, are ever present. When thunder rolls across the plateau, it is not just weather, it is Peha, the god of storms, riding through the clouds on his white horse. His voice echoes in thunder, his arrows flash in lightning. People light butter lamps and offer prayers when storms gather, asking him to be merciful, to remember that humans are small and easily frightened. In the valleys, the Lu serpent-like water spirits dwell in lakes and rivers. They are ancient, patient beings, neither good nor evil, but powerful and easily offended. To pollute a stream or spill blood in the water is to anger them, and sickness is said to follow. To please them, offerings of milk, flowers, and turquoise are poured into the currents. Many lakes in Tibet are sacred mirrors of the heavens above. Yamdrok So, shimmering turquoise beneath the mountains, is said to be the soul of a goddess. Namtso, the heavenly lake, lies so high it reflects the stars even in daylight. Pilgrims walk their shores in silence, hearing in the wind the faint echo of chants that have been carried across centuries. The Tibetans say that when you stand by these lakes and watch the reflection of the sky, you can sometimes glimpse your own past lives, a ripple of memory moving just beneath the surface. In the older Bon tradition, which predates Buddhism, the world itself was born from the union of sky and earth, father and mother. Every creature, every spirit, every mountain wind carries that lineage. The Bon shamans Ngakpa still walk the land today, dressed in robes of deep indigo, their hair tied in long braids. They chant to the mountains, to the clouds, to the souls of the departed, maintaining the ancient balance between realms. When a storm gathers suddenly over the plateau, it is said that the spirits are restless. Drums are struck, incense burns. The people light butter lamps in their homes and let the smoke drift out of open windows so that peace can find its way back into the air. Every prayer flag you see fluttering in the wind is a bridge between the human and the divine. As the fabric frays, the prayers are released. As the colours fade, the wishes are carried away. The wind remembers them all. There is an old Tibetan saying, "When the flags are gone, the prayers remain." The mountains do not need to be seen to be known. The spirits do not need to speak to be heard. Their presence is felt in the subtle things, the way light shifts through thin air, the quiet vibration of a mantra whispered before dawn, the sudden hush that falls before a snowstorm. If you listen closely, the mountains breathe. If you watch patiently, the sky moves with intent. And in that movement, that rhythm, lies the pulse of the sacred. It is easy to forget, in the noise of our world, that silence can hold meaning, that stillness can be alive. But here, the Tibetans have never forgotten. They live as guests in a house of spirits, walking softly, speaking with respect, and listening to the wind for guidance. When the day ends and the sky fades to silver, monks light butter lamps in their temples. The flames flicker in long rows, their golden light reflecting in the polished bronze of statues and bells. Outside, the last rays of the sun catch the peaks of the mountains, and for a moment, earth and heaven are the same color, radiant, fleeting, eternal. In the distance, you can hear a low horn echoing through the valley, calling the night to prayer. The sound rises, slow and resonant, blending with the wind, the chants, and the breath of the mountains. And as the stars awaken over Tibet, you begin to feel it too, the sense that the world is awake and watching, that you are not alone. Perhaps this is why the Tibetans speak softly when they walk among the peaks. They know they are being heard. Now, let us follow those whispers past the edges of the known world, into the realm of the unseen, to the myth of Shambhala, the hidden kingdom said to lie beyond the Himalayas, where enlightenment lives in eternal light. Chapter 3. The Hidden Kingdoms, Shambhala and the Lost Valleys. Somewhere beyond the mountains, beyond the wind and the snow, there is said to lie a valley untouched by time. Its rivers shine like liquid silver, its trees never wither, and its air carries the sound of eternal song. This is Shambhala, the hidden kingdom, the city of peace, the heart of all that is pure. No map marks its location. No compass can point the way. It is said that only those with a calm and awakened heart can find it, that it reveals itself not to the traveler, but to the soul ready to see. In the texts of Tibetan Buddhism, Shambhala is described as a realm beyond suffering, a place where compassion and wisdom rule instead of fear. Its people live in harmony, untouched by sickness or war. Its palaces glow with light brighter than gold. The king of Shambhala, Rigden Japo, is said to guard the wheel of time, waiting for the moment when the world will need balance once more. But to the Tibetans, Shambhala is not just a story, it is a promise. From the high monasteries of Lhasa to the remote valleys of Amdo, whispers of this hidden kingdom travel on the wind. Some believe it lies in the far north, beyond the snow deserts. Others say it exists in another dimension entirely, a place one can only reach through meditation, through stillness, through letting go. Perhaps that is why the mountains feel like gates. They do not separate worlds, they connect them. For centuries, travelers and mystics have searched for this hidden paradise. The Bon shamans speak of hidden valleys known as Bayul, sanctuaries created by enlightened beings to protect life during times of chaos. These valleys, they say, will open when the world grows too troubled to bear its own noise. Within them, all is peace-green fields, warm springs, clear air, and the sound of chanting rivers. Some monks say these Bayul are fragments of Shambhala, reflections of that perfect kingdom scattered like mirrors across the Himalayas. To find one is not to escape the world, but to remember what the world once was. The story of Shambhala has spread far beyond Tibet. In ancient Sanskrit texts, it was described as a realm hidden beyond the Himalayas, where the Kalki kings dwell, protectors of the Dharma, who will one day return to restore balance when darkness fills the earth. In Mongolian legend, it is a city of immortal beings who ride out on white horses in times of need. In the West, explorers of the 19th century mystics, poets, and dreamers searched for it, believing it to be a physical paradise hidden somewhere between Tibet and Mongolia. But perhaps the truth is simpler and deeper. Shambhala was never meant to be found in the world, but within it. When Tibetan lamas speak of Shambhala, they describe it not as a place of escape, but as a state of mind, a consciousness of perfect clarity where compassion and wisdom dwell side by side. To reach Shambhala, they say, one must not walk, but awaken. The path begins not in the mountains, but in the heart. And yet, the imagery of this hidden kingdom lingers in every part of Tibetan life. The prayer wheels that turn endlessly in the wind are said to echo the turning of Shambhala's great wheel of time. The mandalas drawn in coloured sand within monastery walls are maps of the kingdom itself, circular, infinite, centered around a palace of light. The monks who create them spend days bent over their work, placing each grain of sand with patient precision. When the mandala is complete, they brush it away, a gesture of impermanence, reminding all who watch that even the most perfect worlds must dissolve. It is said that the rivers of Shambhala flow not with water, but with compassion, that the wind there carries prayers, and that even the shadows glow with understanding. There are stories, too, of wanderers who have reached its borders not by intention, but by accident. Lost in blizzards or meditation, they stumble into a place where the snow melts away and the air grows warm. They hear bells ringing, though no temple is seen. They meet strangers whose eyes seem to shine with inner light, and when they try to return, the way back is gone. Such tales are told quietly, without certainty. Perhaps they are metaphors, perhaps miracles. But in Tibet, where the line between the real and the spiritual has always been thin, no one doubts that such a place could exist. And maybe that possibility, the belief in hidden harmony, is what gives the myth its power. Every age has its darkness. Every civilization dreams of a paradise just beyond reach. For Tibet, Shambhala is not an escape from the world's suffering, but a reminder that peace still lives somewhere within it. In the cold wind that sweeps across the plateau, you can almost imagine it, a faint shimmer on the horizon, a warmth hidden within the snow. The prayer flags flutter like signals between worlds. The bells in the monastery ring softly, as if answering a call from far away. The monks who chant in the high halls know that they are singing to more than the present moment. Their mantras are bridges, songs that travel between the visible and the invisible, between the world we know and the one that waits beyond. And perhaps Shambhala hears them. For in Tibetan thought, no prayer is ever lost. Every sound, every breath, every act of compassion ripples outward, moving through the air like wind over still water. And so, the legend continues not as fantasy, but as memory. The memory of a time when the world was balanced, when the air was full of light, and when every creature understood its place within the great breathing whole. Shambhala may never appear on any map, but it lives wherever there is stillness, wherever there is kindness, wherever the heart remembers what it means to be awake. And if, for a moment, as you listen to the wind, you feel peace, perhaps you have already found it. Now, let us journey onward from the hidden kingdom of myth to the living sanctuaries of faith, to the monasteries of Tibet, where chants echo through stone halls and lamps burn through endless nights. Chapter 4: The Monasteries of Silence. Dawn comes slowly in Tibet. The light touches the mountains first, a faint gold that spills down the snow and gathers on the valley floors. The air is still and cold, thin enough that every sound seems to travel for miles. From the distance comes the deep rolling tone of a horn, long and low, rising through the mist like the voice of the earth itself. It is the call to morning prayer. Within the white walls of a monastery, monks begin to stir. They rise in silence, their robes wrapped tightly against the chill. The smell of butter lamps fills the corridors, a soft sweetness of smoke and oil that clings to the stone. The halls are dim, lit only by flickering gold light, each flame dancing like a heartbeat. The monks gather in long rows on the temple floor. Their chants begin low and deep, the voices of many becoming one. The sound vibrates through the stone, through the air, through the body. It is less a song than a vibration, the hum of life itself. As they chant, they spin their prayer wheels, small metal cylinders inscribed with sacred mantras. Each turn is a recitation, each rotation an offering of compassion. The wheels spin endlessly, a rhythm as ancient as the mountains outside. In Tibet, prayer is not confined to words. It is woven into every act, every gesture. To pour a cup of tea, to walk around a temple, to light a lamp, all can be prayers if done with awareness. In the great monasteries Drepung, Sera, Tashilhunpo, and countless others perched like fortresses among the cliffs, life follows the same slow rhythm. The day begins with chanting, followed by hours of study, meditation, and simple labor. Young monks copy scriptures by hand, their brushstrokes careful and deliberate. Others tend the gardens, feed the yaks, or polish the copper offering bowls that line the shrines. There is no rush, no noise, no need for more than the moment allows. In a world obsessed with progress, the monasteries are places of stillness, where time bends around prayer. The architecture itself seems designed for meditation. Thick stone walls muffle the wind, courtyards open to the sky, framing the clouds as if they were passing thoughts. Stairways twist upward to quiet rooms where the only sound is the soft flicker of lamps. In the shadows of these halls sit the Thangka paintings, intricate scrolls depicting mandalas, deities, and sacred symbols. Each is a world unto itself, a map of the universe drawn in pigment and gold. The monks meditate before them, tracing the path from ignorance to enlightenment with their minds. In the heart of each monastery stands a great stupa, a white dome crowned with a golden spire. It represents the Buddha's mind, a symbol of awakening. Pilgrims circle it in silence, their fingers moving across strings of beads, their breath steady, their hearts quiet. And in that silence lies understanding. The Tibetans believe that everything in existence is impermanent, that all things arise, change, and dissolve like waves in water. Even the mightiest mountain will one day become dust. This is not sorrowful to them, it is truth, and from that truth comes peace. The monks meditate on this impermanence daily. They visualize their bodies dissolving into light, their thoughts becoming clouds that drift and fade. It is a practice not of loss, but of return, a way of remembering that nothing is ever truly gone. In Tibet, death is not an ending, but a continuation of the same great cycle. The soul is said to move through states of transition known as bardo, a passage between lives where the spirit journeys through visions shaped by its own mind. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, read aloud to the dying, serves as a guide through this dreamlike landscape. The monks who study it speak of death not with fear, but with reverence. To die well, they say, is to release the illusion of self, to awaken fully to the vastness of being. Reincarnation, too, is a thread that binds Tibetan belief to the mountains. When a great lama passes away, the search for his rebirth begins. Through dreams, signs, and visions, other monks are guided to a child who carries the same spirit, the next link in an unbroken chain of wisdom. One of the most sacred traditions is the search for the Dalai Lama, the spiritual leader believed to be the reincarnation of Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva of compassion. The search is long and mysterious, involving omens, visions in sacred lakes, and the quiet conviction of those who listen closely to the whispers of the unseen. To the Tibetans, this is not a miracle, but a natural part of life's continuity, as sure as the rivers returning to the sea. Inside the monastery, as the morning deepens, the chanting slows. The last note lingers, soft and resonant, and then fades into silence. The monks bow their heads. The hall falls still. Outside, the wind moves through the courtyard, stirring the prayer flags into motion. Their colors flash in the light, their edges frayed from years of devotion. Each flutter is a release, each breath of air, a carrier of hope. For the Tibetans, spirituality is not a matter of reaching upward, but of dwelling fully within the world. The divine is not distant. It is the warmth of the sun on the stone, the sound of a horn echoing through the valley, the quiet presence of compassion in the eyes of a stranger. To live with awareness is to live in prayer. To breathe mindfully is to meditate. To be kind is to touch the eternal. And so, in the monasteries of Tibet, life unfolds without haste. Each day, the same yet never the same. Each chant, each lamp, each humble act contributing to a vast and unseen harmony. At night, when the last lamps are extinguished and the wind sighs through the temple windows, the mountains outside seem to lean closer, listening to the echo of prayers drifting through the cold. And perhaps the mountains answer not with words, but with stillness. Because in Tibet, silence itself is a kind of language. Now, let us follow that silence deeper into the valleys where shadows stir and legends breathe, to the realm of spirits, demons, and protectors, where fear and faith intertwine beneath the watching sky. Chapter 5. The Spirits Below, Ghosts, Protectors, and Demons. When night falls on the plateau, Tibet changes. The air grows still, the wind softens to a whisper. The stars emerge, brighter than fire, burning in the thin atmosphere. The world grows quieter, but not empty. In the hours when the lamps burn low and the chants fade into silence, the Tibetans say that the spirits begin to walk. They are not all kind. They are not all cruel. Like people, they simply are. In Tibetan belief, the world is filled with unseen beings, each mountain, each river, each shadow, each gust of wind alive with consciousness. Most are peaceful, content to dwell unseen beside humankind. But others are restless, lingering between realms, seeking attention, balance, or remembrance. These are the Nyen and the Don, spirits of the in-between. Some are the echoes of those who have died without peace, souls caught between lifetimes, wandering until they are guided home. Others are forces of nature given form, storms, landslides, droughts their tempers as wild and unpredictable as the weather itself. When sickness spreads through a village or when herds fall ill, it is not always seen as misfortune, but as imbalance, a sign that the harmony between the human and spirit worlds has been disturbed. The remedy is not punishment, but appeasement. Smoke offerings of juniper are burned at dawn. Monks chant mantras that ripple like water through the air. Butter lamps are lit in long lines to guide the lost and restless toward peace. It is a delicate truce, a relationship of respect between the visible and the invisible. Yet, not all spirits are mournful or mild. Some are fierce protectors cloaked in terrifying form. In the temples of Tibet, you can see them painted on the walls or sculpted in gilded bronze, the Dharmapalas, the protectors of the Dharma. Their faces are twisted in wrath, their eyes wide with fire, their teeth bared. Flames crown their heads, and skulls hang from their necks. To the untrained eye, they appear as demons, but in truth, they are manifestations of compassion, anger transformed into protection. In Buddhism, they are the guardians of wisdom, fierce not for cruelty, but for clarity. They destroy illusion, devour ignorance, and protect the spiritual path from corruption. Among them are Mahakala, the great black one, whose body is the night sky and whose gaze pierces deceit. Palden Lamo, the wrathful goddess who rides a mule across a sea of blood, her body covered in eyes that see all suffering. And Yama, lord of death, the guardian of the cycle of life, depicted as a horned giant holding the wheel of existence in his grasp. Their forms are frightening because they mirror the truth we fear to face: impermanence, desire, ego, and death. To meditate upon them is to confront those shadows within ourselves, to find peace not by avoiding fear, but by walking through it. In the monasteries, rituals to the Dharmapalas are performed at dusk. Monks beat great drums and clash cymbals, their chants rolling through the dark like thunder. They wear masks with wild eyes and fanged mouths, painted in vivid colors: blue, red, white, black, green, each symbolizing a different power. To watch the ceremony is to witness transformation. The monk disappears. The spirit speaks. The dance is not theater, but communion, a bridge between worlds. The spirits are called, honored, and then released, their energy returning to stillness. Outside the monasteries, in the villages scattered across the valleys, belief in spirits runs as deep as the rivers. The old stories tell of haunted passes, of wandering lights, of voices carried on the wind. There is the tale of the Rolangs, the risen dead. They are not like the ghosts of Western lore, not monsters, but lost souls who have mistaken attachment for life. Their bodies rise, stiff and silent, animated by longing. To stop them, it is said, one must call their name and remind them gently that they are already free. There are also tales of mountain demons who appear as shadows in snowstorms, their laughter echoing through the peaks. Travelers leave offerings at cairns of stone before crossing dangerous passes, whispering prayers into the cold. And sometimes, in the high mountain winds, a traveler may hear a strange, soft sound like a flute played on the edge of sleep. The Tibetans say it is the wind spirits singing their way across the sky, reminding humans not to forget humility. These stories, told by firelight and wind, are not meant to frighten, but to teach. They remind the people that the world is alive, that respect must be paid to all beings, seen and unseen. Even the ghosts are not cast out. When the living remember them, they are soothed. When the monks chant their names, they are guided toward light. For in Tibetan thought, there is no eternal hell, no place of endless punishment, only ignorance, which fades when met with compassion. Even the fiercest demon, when understood, becomes a guardian. This belief shapes everything. Where others might see a storm as danger, a Tibetan sees the presence of the Yul La, the mountain lord showing his strength. Where others hear the cry of wind, they hear voices, reminders that the unseen world is always near, watching, listening, waiting for kindness. To live in Tibet is to live in partnership with mystery. Every home has its small shrine, every family its protective deity, every traveller his talisman carved from bone or wood. When the night grows too still, or when dreams turn strange, a small butter lamp is lit to guide lost souls home, to remind the darkness that it, too, is loved. And perhaps that is Tibet's greatest wisdom, that even the shadows deserve compassion. In the eyes of the mountain spirits, the ghosts, the demons, and the gods, there is no separation, only transformation. The same energy that gives life also gives form to fear and to peace. When the monks finish their evening chants, they extinguish their lamps one by one. Smoke curls upward like thin ribbons, twisting toward the rafters. The hall falls silent. Outside, the wind resumes its journey through the prayer flags. Their colors catch the moonlight blue, white, red, green, yellow, fluttering softly against the stars. The demons sleep, the protectors watch, the balance holds, and somewhere in the distance, the faint echo of a bell drifts through the night, a sound that belongs both to this world and to the one beyond it. Now, let us follow that sound into the mountain passes, where wind and silence are one, where the living and the divine breathe the same air to the final realm of our journey, where peace itself speaks through the voice of the wind. Chapter 6. The Voice of the Wind. There are places in the world where the wind is more than air, where it becomes memory and voice and soul. In Tibet, the wind is sacred. It carries the prayers of the living, the whispers of the departed, and the songs of the mountains themselves. It moves ceaselessly, crossing valleys and plateaus, tracing paths that no road could ever hold. Through the flutter of the prayer flags, it hums softly, endlessly, a sound that is half song, half silence. When you walk through the highlands, the first thing you notice is how the world listens. The thin air carries every sound, the creak of distant ice, the ringing of yak bells far below, the faint murmur of a monastery horn carried for miles. And always, the wind shaping, smoothing, singing. It slides across the face of stone stupors, wraps itself around the cliffs, and sighs through the juniper groves. To the Tibetans, this is not mere weather. It is presence, the breath of all that lives. They say that when the wind stops, even for a heartbeat, the world holds its breath to remember. In that stillness, you can almost hear it, the echo of prayers whispered centuries ago, the voices of monks who once chanted beneath the same sky, the low hum of the earth itself vibrating beneath snow and time. The wind carries everything sorrow, devotion, hope, and transforms it. When a pilgrim spins a prayer wheel, the mantra etched on its surface is lifted into the air by motion and breath. When a prayer flag frays, its tattered edge becomes an offering, a prayer made free. In this way, the wind becomes the great keeper of promises. Every mountain pass, every open field, every rooftop lined with flags is a choir. No two songs are the same, yet all speak the same language: impermanence, devotion, peace. In the valleys of Ladakh, travellers tell of a sound that follows them, a faint flute-like note, high and trembling, that seems to come from nowhere. Some say it is the call of unseen spirits. Others believe it is simply the mountain breathing. But to those who pause and listen, it feels like a message not from another world, but from the quiet within their own hearts. The Tibetans have long known what the rest of the world forgets, that the earth itself is alive, and that sound, true sound, is not noise, but communication. Each gust of wind, each crack of ice, each ringing bell is a conversation between realms. And perhaps that is why the people here speak softly. They have learned that to be heard by the wind, one must not shout, but whisper. At the highest points of the plateau, where the air is thin and the stars hang close, there are moments when the wind becomes pure tone, an invisible instrument that plays across the ridges and snow. The monks call this sound lungta, the wind horse, the current that carries both prayers and fortune through the world. When a person lives with compassion, their wind horse is strong, their energy moves freely, their prayers fly farther. When the heart grows clouded with anger or fear, the wind weakens. So, each day, the Tibetans tend to the wind in spirit and in ritual to keep it flowing clear. In some remote monasteries, you can still hear the ancient horns played at sunset. They are long and heavy, carved from metal and wood, and when blown, their sound is deep enough to seem endless. The tone vibrates across valleys, through the bones of the earth, through the body of anyone who listens. It is said that this sound dissolves obstacles not by force, but by resonance. The monks know that vibration heals what silence cannot. They say that when the body chants, the soul aligns. That when the air moves with intention, even the unseen listens. Imagine, now, standing upon a high ridge. The horizon stretches in every direction, a vast breathing ocean of land and cloud. The wind moves around you, cool and clean, carrying the scent of snow, juniper, and old stone. You feel its rhythm, not chaotic, but deliberate. It presses against your skin like a pulse. Each gust a reminder, you are part of this, too. Below, the world glows faintly in the light of the setting Sunday. The rivers gleam like ribbons of glass. Herds of yak move slowly across the plains, dark specks against gold. The bells on their necks chime with the wind, creating a sound that feels older than language. And as night begins to fall, the wind shifts once more. It grows softer, cooler, almost tender, the kind of breeze that feels like a hand brushing over your face. It moves through the prayer flags, setting them into a gentle rhythm. Blue for sky, white for air, red for fire, green for water, yellow for earth. Together they flutter like a living mantra, the elements dancing in perfect balance. Somewhere far below, in a monastery courtyard, a monk begins to chant. His voice is deep, slow and steady, a sound that seems to rise directly into the stars. Soon, others join him. Dozens of voices, then hundreds, each breath becoming part of the same vast harmony. The wind listens. It carries their song outward, over the cliffs, across the plains, through the valleys, until it merges with the steady hum of the world. And for a moment, perhaps only a heartbeat, there is no separation between anything. The mountains breathe, the rivers listen, and the stars pulse like drums of light. In that instant, the old truths of Tibet become clear. That silence is not emptiness, that the wind is not merely air, but awareness, that the divine does not live above us, but within us, carried on every breath we take. To those who have wandered far, the sound of the wind is the sound of return. It reminds us that nothing is truly lost, only transformed. When the monks finish their chant, the sound lingers long after they are silent. It echoes across the mountains, into the hearts of those who sleep, into the dreams of those who listen. And if you close your eyes, perhaps you can hear it too, a soft, endless whisper calling you to rest. Now, as night deepens over the plateau, let us follow that whisper one last time into the stillness of the final chapter, where the journey ends not in discovery, but in peace. Chapter 7, Where the Silence Lives. Night has fully settled over the plateau. The stars are bright beyond imagination, sharp, endless, scattered across the black sky like grains of salt on obsidian. The wind has quieted now. Even the mountains seem to exhale, and in that stillness, the world begins to hum a low, slow vibration that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. This is Tibet at rest, the land of silence, where even silence has its own voice. You can almost see it, the soft glow of butter lamps flickering in temple windows, the faint shimmer of frost on the prayer flags, the thin blue smoke of juniper curling upward into the night. Somewhere in the distance, a single bell tolls one long note that fades into the stars. The monks have finished their chants. The spirits are at peace, and the wind carries only calm. If you listen closely, you can still hear the echoes of everything we've seen. The mountain gods of Kailash, standing guard in eternal stillness. The hidden kingdom of Shambhala, shining beyond the world of form. The protectors and demons, fierce and compassionate, dissolving into light. And through it all the wind, always the wind. It moves gently now through the folds of your mind, clearing away the dust of thought, brushing against the quiet places you'd forgotten were there. Each breath becomes a prayer, each heartbeat a mantra. For the Tibetans, sleep is not absence, it is another form of meditation. When the body rests, the mind continues its pilgrimage through unseen worlds. The dreams that rise are not distractions, but teachings, lessons whispered by the soul in the language of symbols and stars. In some monasteries, the monks describe dreams as doorways to Bardo, the space between waking and rebirth, a place where truth is revealed in images softer than thought. They say that to dream well is to remember that the world itself is a dream, luminous, shifting, never still, yet filled with meaning. Outside, the snow begins to fall again. The flakes drift slowly, endlessly, each one unique, each one vanishing upon landing tiny lessons in impermanence. They rest upon the flags, the roofs, the faces of stone deities, and melt without sound. And beneath it all, the plateau sleeps ancient, patient, eternal. Perhaps this is what Tibet has always tried to teach, that everything joy, sorrow, fear, peace is part of the same vast silence, that even in the darkest night there is light, that the wind carries not just prayers but memory and promise. As you breathe in, imagine that same cold, clean air filling your lungs, air that has touched the Himalayas, that has passed over glaciers, lakes, and ancient temples. And as you exhale, imagine the air leaving gently, carrying your own quiet wishes out into the stars. The Tibetans say the wind never forgets. Every prayer whispered, every song sung, every act of kindness becomes part of its endless motion circling the world again and again. So tonight, as you rest, perhaps you too are part of that motion, your breath mingling with the mountain air, your stillness joining the rhythm of the earth. Each heartbeat, a small drum echoing in the vast silence of creation. Somewhere far above, the stars shift, their light sliding across the snowfields like the slow turning of a wheel. In the monasteries below, the butter lamps flicker one last time before sleep. The monks bow their heads, the bells fall silent, and the wind, the eternal wind, continues its song. It whispers through the flags, over the peaks, across the world. It moves through time, through memory, through dream. And if you listen with your whole being, you might hear what it has always said. That peace is not found by climbing higher, but by becoming still. That the divine is not hidden in temples, but in breath and stone and sky. That silence is not emptiness, it is fullness beyond sound. Now, as you close your eyes, imagine standing once more upon that high ridge. The stars above, the earth below, the wind brushing past your face, carrying the last soft note of a distant chant. Let it move through you. Let it quiete you. Let it guide you gently into rest. And as you drift into sleep, know this: the silence that surrounds you is alive. It listens, it remembers, and it holds you as the mountains hold the sky. Sleep peacefully now, traveler. The wind will keep your prayers, and the world awake or dreaming will go on singing. Good night.